This conference will now be recorded.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Approval of the minutes.
Make the motion, we approve the minutes, the hearing minutes, adoption, so September 15, 2021 recommendation.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Changes to agenda. Seeing none, go on to presentations. We have none. Public hearing.
Make a motion to open a public hearing for the 2022 primary budget and tax levy.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So the city of Appleton this last couple of months through the height of the pandemic had a lot of challenges. But despite those challenges, we received more than $5 million in grants from airports, infrastructure awards to most recently broadband. On top of that, we use grant dollars to help local residents recover from the pandemic. More than $80,000 was awarded with the help of our 2 local banks who also contributed to that matter. For a lot of people involved in this process, the levy is sometimes nebulous. So I'm going to go through this. I'm going to read it word for word because I think it's important that we all are on the same page. Tax levy is a component part of a municipality's budget. Specifically, the tax levy contains revenues raised by property taxation to fund the operations of a municipality, which is a significant revenue line item on a proposed annual budget for a municipality. The ideal financial position for a community of any size is for the revenues raised by taxation to be just one of a diverse pool of funds for revenues. Generally, this is achieved when enterprise funds or special revenue funds perform well enough to shift a portion of the tax burden onto the enterprise funds. The City of Appleton's enterprise funds have been historically underperforming until recently. The leadership of the City Council has raised rates to adjust, and changes have been made to ensure that the health of the city's enterprise funds improves. The City Council's efforts have started to pay off. The city's most recent audit objectively demonstrates the positive trajectory and health of the city's enterprise funds and overall financial health. So with this in mind, we need to be aware of some of the increases, why they are. So the city's proposed budget, and again, this is a preliminary tax levy and budget. After it is set today, can always be lowered, can't be increased. The law allows you to lower it for the December final approved budget and tax levy. We're proposing a balanced budget of $2,272,903. Tax levy for the year 2022 is $1,574,537, or 69% of the total annual budget. This presents an increase in the levy from 2021 of 38%. For a comprehensive review of the levy, we will go here and you will see that while it is higher for this year, it is not an outlier. It is comparable to other years. While it is higher, there's a couple of factors that are driving this. The City of Appleton received less money in LGA from the state for 2022. During the height of the pandemic, the city's union settled just for 1 year. We have to renegotiate those contracts. Some of those contracts, we're assuming the higher COLA, and it may result in a lower COLA, which again will be adjusted for the final budget in December. This will impact a lot of the salary line items. The events that transpired in the Twin Cities, Mr. George Floyd, resulted in our workers' comp and liability insurance going up 35% and 4% respectively, a significant increase. The City Council established to fully staff the streets department, which of course increased the salary line item because we have more people working, more services are being delivered. The City Council will today deliberate on about $132,000 of capital outlay. Due to the city's water enterprise funds not having the appropriate rates in the last couple of decades, debt service associated to the water treatment plant must be on the tax levy. Typically, these types of funds are not on the tax levy because revenue from those enterprise funds is supposed to cover that performance. But because we have not had that performance, those dollars are on the levy for the next 3 years. So as of 2024, it will be off the levy, which will be a significant difference in terms of the levy. If we had not had those drivers, the debt service for this year would have been $307,000, and the levy would have only been $1.2 million. But as it is, this is something that the community needed. The water plant needs to be built, and clean water needs to be delivered to the city of Appleton. So with that, I turn it over to the presentation of the budget. So you'll see here that we defined this for you. The tax levy debt service paid by levying taxes against properties or special assessments. Non-tax levy debt service has an identified revenue source other than the property taxes to pay for them. If these identified revenues are not enough to cover the debt, the city would then pay them from the general fund. So there is essentially some debt service that goes on the tax levy, and then some debt service that doesn't go on the tax levy, but which we cover through a different source. All right, a little hard to see, but you'll see on the left side there, the tax levy debt service. Those are all the titles of the different bonds that the city of Appleton pays for through the tax levy. As you move from left to right, you will see the original amount, the maturity date, balance due, and the total levy from 2018 to the proposed levy today, 2022. The total proposed debt service that's going on the levy for this year is $547,858. Again, that is primarily due to the PFA funds associated to the water treatment plant, $240,000, $210,000. Below that row, you will see the non-tax levy debt service. These are largely the hospital's debt service. The hospital pays the city for the debt service associated to the services that they provide over there. If the hospital was not able to pay for these, then these would go on our tax levy. The proposed for this year is $257,402,000. And again, the hospital pays that to the city. It does not go on the tax levy. The only way it would go on the tax levy is if the hospital for some reason could not pay. You'll see below that the historic tax levy from 2015 to the proposed 2022. And you'll see that, yes, our year is high, but it has been around this amount in the past. Okay, then we get right into the budget. So for revenues, the proposed general fund levy is $1.5 million essentially, or 38%, or $444,398 increase from last year's levy. As we've expressed, we've created new roles. We're completely staffing the streets department, which is essential to the infrastructure services of the city of Appleton. And again, one of the primary drivers of that increase has to do with the PFA plant. We have a franchise fee that we were not collecting prior to 2020 from MediaCom. We collect approximately $16,000. And this year's expected LGA is $793,000, which is a slight decrease from last year. Emma, you want to chat from here? Yep.
Can I ask a simple question?
Hmm.
Can we get copies of that? We can see the figures.
If you visit the city's website, you'll see it there. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so this first slide is the listing of all the general fund revenues. The previous slide was just an explanation of some of the three biggest ones in there. This is just the far left right column when you're looking at it is the proposed for 2022. You will notice that it is actually higher budgeted revenues for 2022 than 2021. Most everything that we looked at has stayed the same, with the exception of that levy. That's because the levy is higher. That is the reason that this total is higher on the revenue side of it. Council, do you have any questions on these line items?
So I know you guys can't see over there, but I will read them out to you. There's a tax levy, which Emma just explained. There's lodging taxes. There's a franchise fee, business licenses, non-business licenses, building permits, local government aid, federal aid, fire aid, police state aid, airport maintenance, other state or local grants, county contributions, para-state aid, ambulance, township fire contracts, fire department calls, other sales and services, swimming pool receipts, motor vehicle fees, campground fees, court fines, parking fines, interest earnings, rent, gifts and donations, sales of fixed assets, refunds and reimbursements, payment and lieu of taxes, other revenue, and COVID monies from private parties. Those are all the revenue streams proposed for the fiscal year 2022.
Would you like me to move on?
We're trying to be fancy for you and the remote doesn't work. Sorry.
And just hit the arrow button to the right. Okay, we'll just move on. So the next slide is going to be, we're going to start with our expenditures. We do have these broken down into many different categories. We've combined some from previous budgets. The first one is mayor and council. The salaries and pensions we left the same. Insurance is roughly about the same that it has been. We didn't see any huge increases in that. Office supplies and school and travel, we did leave the same. Printing and publishing, we decreased this year due to the fact that we can publish our meeting minutes on our website, saving us some publishing costs that way. Insurance, just general insurance, went up a little bit. Contractual services, which is anything the council has like a professional service come in, do for them. We did decrease that budget. And then dues and subscriptions, that's just to belong to the League of Minnesota Cities, and that we just left the same. So the total proposed 2022 budget for the mayor and council is $24,660. Any questions? Okay, next list. Okay, the next one is administration and finance. And this covers all of the administration type roles in the city, which is the city administrator, the clerk treasurer, accounting officer, and any support staff for those roles. The salaries we increased to $279,950 from last year. As the city administrator had stated before, there is contract negotiations in the works right now, so this figure could be lower. This just took into account the maximum amount of cost of living adjustment that has been asked for. Pensions went up. Health and life insurance, that decreased. We do have some employees that have taken less or don't or opt out of that insurance. Office supplies we increased. That is due to needing some updates on some different office supply things and buying some products that will help us be more efficient in the jobs that we perform. Contractual services, that one did increase to $21,000 from last year. That is due to the IT service contract we have with Bennett Technology. And then we also have our copier contracts under that category. So just with the Bennett, that one did increase, but it has definitely improved our efficiency in the office, and we're able to rectify any IT problems that come up a lot faster than we have been in the past. Telephone, that increased. prices, telephone calls. We do receive more telephone calls volume wise and from many different out of state, out of town numbers. So that factors into our long distance. School and travel, we do have some staff that plan on some schooling and some conference type activities next year. Printing and publishing, we did decrease that. Insurance, that is our workman's comp and general liability insurance went up. Dues and subscriptions, those are various memberships to different professional organizations for the office. Unemployment claims, that's any type of unemployment claim in any department throughout the city goes under the general administration because it does not need to get charged to that department. It is a general function of the city. Maintenance and equipment, we decreased that budget, and miscellaneous, we decreased that budget as well. So the total administration and finance budget for 2022 proposed is $391,417. Is there any questions on the administration and finance? Okay, yeah, that one's right. That's fine. So the next one is kind of the rest of our general government type functions. So the first one is elections. 2022 will be an election year. So we did increase the pension and miscellaneous charges on that because we will have most for sure a primary and a general election if they have the presidential nomination primary. Like hopefully we won't have to do that, but it adds costs because we have to have election judges for every one. We have to supply the food, office supplies, that type of thing. So that one for 2022 is $3,500. Auditing, 2022 is actually going to be the first year that there is a budget for auditing. There's never been a budget. It's always just been an expense that was unknown. In 2022, we do have an estimate of what it's going to cost us for our general audit as well as some other small auditing things. So that will be $26,000 for 2022. The assessing, we contract with Swift County. And so in 2021, the charge that we paid was just short of $12,600. So that's what we budgeted for 2022, an increase of $1,600 from the budget of 21. And the city attorney, that includes our services from Danielle Olson for the city attorney that we contract, as well as any other legal fees from any other legal type services we have. So that budget stayed the same at $15,000. Planning and zoning, this is where our building inspector, his fees come out of. We contract with him. We left it the same of $4,000. That includes his monthly stipend. And then miscellaneous, we did increase to $700. We have had an increase in building permits in the last year. So we did increase that miscellaneous category just for those unforeseen circumstances where we have to print things or we have to pay the building inspector permit fees that he is owed. So that budget is going to go up to $4,700 for 2022. So that is the other governmental services.
And just as a note for the city, the contract for auditing, that contract was signed and approved by the city council in the end of 2020. And the reason it's going from the original 21,000 to 26,000 is because we've been awarded a lot of grants. And the Office of Management and Budget in the federal government requires that you do a single audit anytime you make in grant revenue more than $750,000, which we're clearly over.
So it went from the 8,000 in 2020. That's because we're getting more funds in and you need to be audited more often is the reasoning.
Right. So in the past, like she said, there was no allocation for that service. But what we've done is we've made sure to represent it on the budget because it is something that should be presented to the taxpayers.
So in prior times, it was taken out of general, whatever wasn't covered or
Right.
whatever, so it wasn't known at that time.
Right. It's supposed to be $21,000 for this year, but a single audit costs a little bit more. So. Thank you, Emma.
Next. Okay, the next one is called, we have it labeled as city building. In the past, it's always just been the Civic Center. Now, this year, the council has approved a full-time janitor custodian maintenance type position for the city. So this category includes their salaries, pension. So you will see this budget did increase a lot, and that is mainly just to that salaries portion and the pension as well. Building maintenance and supplies, we did increase to $10,500. That is due to the aging and failing system of this building and having to make repairs that were not done or are popping up now as the system gets older. The insurance did go up for the building. Utilities, we kept the same. And then contractual services, we did increase. That is due to, again, some of that maintenance of that heating system, or right now, we are still looking for the full-time person, so we are contracting out our cleaning services. So that category would cover that. So the total city building budget for 2022 is $80,500. And again, the reason it increased from 2021 budget of 42,000 is that salary and pension increase of the full-time
But just so
custodian.
the public's aware, it's not just cleaning this building, it's cleaning the bathroom in the park, it's doing some work at where the 52 wing.
Yep, and they clean
city
it,
shop. I mean,
the
it's
airport.
not just this, the airport, it's cleaning all the facilities that the city owns, not just this facility.
And
Yep.
it's a preventative maintenance thing too. When you have, we're gonna have some vacant space in the 52 wing now. When someone is cleaning it, if there's any sort of problem, they're the first ones to tell you. And $35,000 is a big shift from previously not having it funded before. But right now, the reason we have a contractor versus somebody in the role is because $35,000, when you take out para, when you take out taxes, that $15 an hour really turns to $8 an hour. So it's hard to find someone to do the work because of the take-home salary.
Okay. Okay, so the next budget item is the police department. In 2022, there is a proposed increase in salaries. Again, this is due to the contract negotiations for the full-time positions as well as our chief. Pensions and health and life, pensions, we increased. Health and life insurance stayed the same. Most everything on the police budget actually stayed relatively level, with the exception of insurance, as mentioned previously, because of the events in the Twin Cities. We did have to increase it by about 35%. So that went from 21,000 in 2021 to 37,000 in 2022. But other than that, everything is pretty much level funded. So the increase, the budget of 2021 was 398,450. Proposed for 2022 is $420,500. Okay, the next one is the fire department. And Ryan, would you like to join me once I go through these lines? Okay. So we have level funded the part-time salaries. Our department has seen some fluctuation in numbers, but we budgeted the same as well as pensions. Supplies did decrease a little bit. Fuel and parts, we kept relatively the same. Repair and maintenance did increase to $12,000 this year. That increase is due to some maintenance requirements of the aging vehicles at the fire department. So we want to make sure that we maintain that maintenance schedule on those vehicles. Contracted services, we decreased. Schools and travel the same. If we get some new firemen, then we can send them to school. Insurance did increase. Utilities, we decreased. Telephone is relatively level funded, the same with firemen's relief, state aid, and miscellaneous, and dues and subscription, we did level fund. So right now the proposed budget is $82,100. And I'm gonna have Ryan step in here in case the council has any questions for him.
Ryan, do you still have Kevin Rosina come over once a year and go through the pumps on the pumpers?
He hasn't been, he's still working with us, yes. I don't know if he's coming, if it's been a yearly thing every year, but he's been here every year
Okay.
making repairs. Yep.
That's a good program because it's best to catch them seals and bearings before they go, or you got, I know when I was on the fire department, we always had them there checking.
Yeah, if that was something that was done in the past, I would, I don't know, just being new at this year, I don't know if that was something that's been getting done the last few years, but I do know he's been here every year, so.
Well, that would be something to check on to make
Sure.
sure that he does that yearly inspection. I know it costs us a little bit more, but I also know it's $20,000-$30,000 to go through one of them pumps when they go.
Sure, yep.
So comes under that preventive maintenance.
How are you
Yeah.
sitting as far as equipment? I mean, is there you got a lot that needs to be updated, or how are you?
I mean, there's certain things we've talked about in the past, just keeping certain trucks updated or up to spec and things like that. Otherwise, equipment wise, I mean, really, we are pretty good. There's a few repairs that need to be made. There's a few repairs that have been made. The other thing, as far as the preventative maintenance, we've had Thomas Cack as our maintenance guy the past few years, and actually he's been kind of running through there quite a bit, and so he's been kind of taking care of that side of things too. So that has been, I guess, I think it's been getting done just in a different capacity.
How about your safety stuff? We don't have any of them masks and stuff coming up like we did, right? I mean, everything.
Nope, so we're pretty covered there since the last time we took care of that. Yeah, the focus has just been kind of taking care of things that have sort of been pushed to the wayside the last, how many years. So we're just trying to get caught up right now.
Okay.
Awkward silence.
Anything else?
Thank you for all you do there.
Come back up.
Come back up.
Yep.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Randy.
Okay, the next department is one of our departments where we've seen our biggest increase for the 2022 proposed budget. And this is in part or mainly because of the salaries. The council did vote to add another person for a full street department. So for that reason, the salaries did increase to $219,000 proposed for 2022. Again, that figures in the high ask of the cost of living adjustment. This may go down once contract negotiations are completed. As well as with the salary increase, pensions would go up, health and life insurance would increase. We did decrease the fuel and parts budget based on historical averages. We felt that dropping it down to 18,000 would better represent what that department does use. Supplies as well decreased. Maintenance, equipment and repair stayed relatively the same. Printing and publishing, we did increase that. That is due to advertising for our public works director. As we have to diversify our advertising, so we do reach a farther audience, and so our printing and publishing costs this year were quite high for this department. So we wanted to make sure that we capture that for next year. Contractual services, we did increase that to $10,700, and that is just due to making sure that we have the right people in the right place to go over our equipment on an annual basis, and as well as the shop, making sure that system there is up to snuff. Chapel Central has been here quite a bit fixing that and found some issues there. And everything has been fixed, but we want to make sure we can keep them coming out year to year to maintenance and inspect those systems. The seal coating, we budgeted $20,000 for 2022. That would be seal coating specifically just for streets. The street maintenance materials budget. You will notice that last year it was $30,000 and we did decrease it to $22,500 for 2022. This is due to the fact that we have decided to split out what the previous budget was, because the snow budget for salt and sand was included in that figure with the summer gravel and tar. Well, if we had a heavy winter, it decreased the amount that we were able to spend in the summertime, or vice versa. If we spent more in the summer, our budget for the winter decreased. So we did split those figures out so we can dedicate a certain portion just to our summer materials and a portion just to our snow materials. The snow removal, you'll see that increase is reflected by just switching some of those materials just to winter. Our insect, pest, and weed control, we did increase to $20,100, so just a $100 increase. That is due to just making sure that we have the product we need on hand, and then every year our mosquito sprayer does have to be calibrated, so those services are figured in there as well. Building maintenance, that's for the new shop and the old shop, we level funded. Telephone went down. School and travel, well, we don't budget for that, but that may be an item in the future that we start looking at, because we are going to be sending our guys to safety schools and some certification type trainings. Insurance did increase. And then our street lighting, that budget decreased for 2022, and that's due to the fact that Otter Tail now owns the lights and we just rent them from them. They will do the maintenance on it, so we don't have to budget for those large maintenance costs that we had to in the past when things were wrong underground. And then miscellaneous, we kept the same. So the total street budget for 2022 proposed is $509,900. If you have any questions, Ryan can answer them for you.
So just as a note on the salary items, as our streets department staff becomes certified and specialized, more portions of their salary will start to come out of the enterprise funds. So those salary items, while they are large increases, will proportionally decrease as they get certified in different types of subfield for the water, sewer, pool, etc.
Well, the increase is due to adding a person plus the increase in wages and insurance. I mean, that's a good portion of it too.
Are you finding more time, Ryan, to address maybe projects that haven't been able to be addressed in the past now that you have some more personnel?
Yeah, I think that's been one of the biggest things, is we've been able to kind of go after a backlog of, projects that either got put to the wayside or were left unfinished. Yeah, that's been a huge benefit. Yep.
Yeah, I've noticed the difference. So
Well, it's just
Good.
huge, and the community likes that, like filling in them street light poles and having
Sure.
you guys do it. I mean, they know we're saving money by getting it done, their own staff, so.
Yeah, no, that was one we were glad to be able to get done.
to see a lot of brush being moved out of town, and
Yeah, we have a large pile.
but I see you guys moving a lot of brush and cutting a lot of brush down and putting up fencing and doing some more special projects.
Yeah, there's been quite a few projects like that, and hopefully, or obviously there will be more, so.
Thank you for that.
One of the things to note on this particular cycle, we have some curbs that need to be replaced, and it's been very difficult to get anybody in the concrete world to bid. So we're gonna go ahead and dip into these gentlemen's background and start testing how well we can do the curbs ourselves.
Smaller portions.
Smaller
things,
portions.
Things.
I can give you a few pointers.
I figured maybe we could, yeah.
I just, at my age, I don't.
Bend your ear just a little bit, yeah, yeah. No, we can make the effort, yeah, just a little bit of.
Smaller ones are pretty easy to do. I can show you the material we use and stuff. It's pretty simple.
And one of our guys has a background in doing curb and gutter and stuff too. So, with all of that, I think we should be able to take care of it. So.
Well, and if you want, I got a lot of steel pins and stuff that you use for forming, and you just come and get some of ours, because we got boxes of them.
Oh, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anything? Is it? Okay.
Thanks. Okay, so the next two I put together just because the public transit portion is quite small. This is just the contracted services that we have with Prairie 5 Rides. So that is their yearly ask. So for 2022, we did receive a request for $9,986. And then we do pay a small amount of insurance on that service. So 2022's proposed is $10,036 for the public transit system. The next one is the library. And for 2022, we had a decrease in the books and magazines line item. That was a recommendation from our head librarian that we could decrease that budget. We did have an increase in the contractual services, and this is just the portion that Pioneerland Library System, excuse me, asked for funding. So it did increase to $84,240 for 2022. And then we did decrease the miscellaneous budget and level funded the telephone and insurance roughly. So the 2022 library proposed budget is $107,000, $107,090. There's lots of zeros in that number. And Cindy is here if you do have any questions on the budget, on the expenditure side of it.
Do you have any questions for me? You should like me to decrease it by $10. I should be the most popular department.
We love you all the same.
Gee. So yeah, any questions? Exciting things, I guess. We're doing more in-person programming. I mean, we're being careful about it. Some different things like that, but yeah.
Is there a reason why the books and magazines you recommended go down?
You know, that ebbs and flows. It really does. And so I just felt that we could probably move that money around, and we may have to adjust it again in the future and just make some movements. Another thing that's not really included in here is that we do bring in about, anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 every year or two in donations and things like that as well. And that can offset anything, any increases. But I know in 2020, we saw a lot of books that were not being published because of the pandemic. And so, well, that's why that number is lower. And I think 17,000 is probably a lot more accurate of a number if you look at the history of everything. So, and like I said, we may have to make some adjustments. That's just life, in the fast lane of the library, I guess. So, but yeah, if you ever have any questions, just stop by, visit, give me a call. I've started doing the monthly newsletters again. I hope you've noticed that. And if I don't have your email address, please give that to me so I can make sure you get that. Anyway, so yeah. No other questions? All right.
Not yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Not yet. I know it's coming up in those capital things, right?
Thank you.
Now remember, that's not just for me.
Okay, so the next one is the recreation budget, and the recreation does cover multiple areas. So we do start out with the general recreation, and you will notice there is a large increase in the supplies. We did increase up to $15,200. The reason for that increase is there has been requests to complete the skating rink project. We do have the supplies for repairing and replacing the boards on the skating rink. So for 2022, that's why we put in the $15,000 is to get that project moving forward. And that would be largely just the supply portion of it, because our street crew, being that they have expanded to a full crew, could assist in putting that up. And then the contractual services is our portion that we pay to the community education program to have community ed in town. So it's $16,000 has been budgeted for the past 3 years, or 3-4 years. So that is why we went with $16,000 for 2022. Insurance increased slightly, and we added some miscellaneous on there because we have noticed a trend of some miscellaneous recreation fees. So the total just general recreation, and that includes actually our baseball field and the porta potties that we rent in the summertime, is $33,000 for 2022. Do you want me to keep going, or do you want to discuss each little individual recreation category?
I think you can keep going.
Keep going? Okay. So the next one is the swimming pool. We slightly increased the salaries for 2022. This is just due to having more people working there and being able to hire enough people so then everyone has enough time and can feel like they can take a few days off, as well as making sure we have managers in positions up there where we need them. The operating supplies, the reason that you see no budget for 2020 is because everything gets put under the under the supply category. So for 2022, we tried to allocate some portions out. So that's why you'll see previous years may not have a line item. So operating supplies, that would be any kind of things to fix the pool and the equipment itself is $11,500. Our supplies, that mainly covers like the cleaning supplies and anything general, about $3,000. Maintenance for the building and equipment would include any time we'd have to have someone come in and do some type of labor work. That's what we categorize as maintenance of stuff. It's $1,500. Our contractual services, we increased to $1,200. Our concession supplies, we budgeted about $6,500. That's a little higher number than we've had in the past for our actuals, but we have seen an increase in people using the pool, and this year especially, it was very difficult to get some of the concession supplies, and when you did find them, they were a higher price than they have been in the past. So we did adjust accordingly. Telephone, we decreased to $400. Insurance increased. Utilities, we've seen those decreasing, as well as printing and publishing, we did increase a little bit because there is some signage that's needed next year, and then just for ads in the paper when it's going to be open. And miscellaneous, we level funded. So for 2022, the proposed budget for the swimming pool is $87,700.
So this is what it costs us to run the pool after what you take in from passes and everything, correct?
No, this is just the expenditures. This doesn't take in the revenues. And this does not factor in the time that our certified pool operator on our street crew works. And then we do have one of our contract operators for the wastewater is very knowledgeable about pools. So this doesn't factor in some of their time as well. But we are very fortunate to have knowledgeable people on our staff that can do that. So we don't have to hire that out as well. Okay, so next is the 52 wing. You'll notice in 2022, we have removed the salaries portion. This is due to that new janitorial custodial position. We also decreased the operating supplies. This is due to, in part, to the building being vacant now. We will not have to put as many supplies into cleaning and that type of thing. Building maintenance, we did increase to $5,000. Just that's our NEC contract. We contract with someone to go over our heating system and make sure it's running. They actually do monitor it. So then that way, if something goes wrong, they can let us know right away. So we don't have a situation like we did have in the past where it completely went down and it took a while to get fixed. The insurance increased. Utilities, we relatively funded, and miscellaneous, we just slightly increased that just for those little things that come up. So we actually decreased the 52 wing budget from 2021's amount of $56,200 to $49,000 for 2022.
Emma, the utilities now, is that the electricity and the heat?
Yes, any kind of Minnesota Energy, Otter Tail Power, any kind of utility up there, that's what's in that budget.
That's in there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so, you know, that number, we may see a decrease with them not being there, but we still have to make sure that that building is heated and cooled properly so it doesn't ruin what is.
And if you believe the TV, we're going to be paying more for gas this year anyway.
You just never know with utility prices. Yep.
But as long as they're in there, that's fine. Thank you.
Yep. So next to the Parks Department, and we did increase the salary to, or we decreased the salary to $5,000 this year. It was in the past $10,000. And that is due to the fact that we contracted our mowing out. So you'll see an increase in our contracted services for 2022. This year we did contract with a mower to mow the 5 city properties. And that has definitely increased the amount of time that our parks employees have to take care of the cemetery and other properties, as well as do that tree trimming of those intersections and low hanging branches. They've been the main people doing that, and there's been a lot more done in that area by relieving some of them of the bigger city properties. So fuel is actually included in the supply budget, so that's why there's no budget for it. Maintenance and repair, that's just if we need to take the mowers in or repair one of the park's vehicles. Miscellaneous, we did decrease to $200. Insurance increased and utilities decreased. We've noticed a decrease in the amount of utilities on the park side. So we did decrease that from 6,000 to 1,000. So 2022's budget is $42,200. Okay, I'm gonna go next. Yep, Susan?
So this is the first, in 2022, it'll be the first time the campground appears separate from the parks budget. It is a self-sustaining enterprise at this time. Our year-to-date cash receipts for campground revenue is currently at 28,000. So in 2022, we do have some maintenance and updates that need to happen. But we've pulled those out and allotted or budgeted for those here. So as you'll see, general supplies, we are increasing, we're setting at 5,000. Contractual services at 3,000. That would be, we do have some repairs and maintenance that are needed in the aging structures there, and we need to budget for those types of things. Utilities, we are looking at 5,000. As we have more and more people that are out in the RVs, we found that this summer we had many RVs there full time. And the increase in electricity, most people had their RV units air conditioned and cooling, and that did increase the electrical rates and usage. Maintenance and equipment, again, that does deal with some of our mowing. We want to put in some upgrades to our fire pits, that type of thing. Insurance, we did see a decrease in that, so that's going to be about 3,200. Miscellaneous, we've set at 1,100. Being this is the first time that we've actually budgeted, we are going to watch this closely so we can start to derive then in 2023 the historical data. Do you have any questions?
What part of the line items cover, for those at home, the platform for booking?
The platform for booking is actually comes out of the credit card fees. So that is not reflected within the expenditures.
What were the upfront costs, remember, when we set the program?
Oh, when we set the program up, that is in the contractual services.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so the next one is the cemetery. This is actually a standalone department from the recreation. In 2022, we did decrease the salaries to $10,000. This is just due to the fact that they're having to be out there less. We're having to have less people on staff to mow that, because with the contract mowing of the other from the parks, those budgets kind of work intertwined as far as salaries go. Pensions we increased. Let's see here, fuel and parts and supplies stayed relatively the same. Contracted services, that increased to $10,000. The main reason that we have that increase is in a past year, we had some landscaping done by one of our city crew. Unfortunately, that landscaping did some damage to some of the shrubs and trees out at the cemetery. So we did contact a landscaper, had them come in and do a complete inventory and recommendation for the cemetery. So part of that fee, or part of that 10,000 is having that person come in and plant trees and shrubs and different varieties that'll flower and color different parts of the year, as well as, prune some of those trees and shrubs that we have there and just start making it look really nice. I know we're very proud of our cemetery, and just by going this little extra mile, it'll make it that much nicer for visitors and people coming to see their family. And then also by planting different species, it'll help to prevent diseases within the same species of trees and shrubs and stuff like that. So, and then we also do have a little bit of some budgeted in the contracted services to start raising some of the stones that have sunk. We do have a running list here in the city office and requests from family members or people that have been out there that have noticed these stones sinking. There's been one that this year had to actually, the grass and everything had grown so far over it, they had to dig out dirt from over top of it. So we want to start doing some preventative care or some maintenance of raising those stones, making sure everybody's loved ones, they can find them when they are visiting the cemetery. Equipment repair and maintenance, we level funded, as well as utilities, miscellaneous, printing and publishing, and insurance, like everywhere else, has increased. And so for the budget for 2022 for the cemetery proposed is $30,650.
When I was on the city council the last time, we had a $10,000 fund put away every year for raising stones and maintenance out there for that.
Yep.
Did that get
We
eliminated?
still have that.
That's, you still have
We
that,
still have
so that 10,000 is still there.
Yep. You'll see in just a couple pages. We do have some of that money still there. Yes.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody kept record of it, but I mean, it's been, I was in high school, but we actually did the first 4 squares around the bandstand. We went, each year we did 1 block.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's on record. I mean, some of them are probably tipping now, but we should go further away from that area because that area was done in the 80s and the 90s. So.
Yep. And like I said, we do have a list of people that have called in, emailed in, that kind of thing. So, maybe we start with those, or we identify, okay, there's a good majority in this block, but that's to be determined. We just wanted to make sure that was in the budget for this next year.
This would probably be for Ryan too. I mean, in the future, if we do this with the trees and stuff, it'd probably be a good idea to talk to a nursery when you're gonna trim them or whatever, so we don't have the same thing happen, the wrong person getting in there with a chainsaw, Yeah, but I mean, just have it so you're in charge of that and don't have somebody just going bananas with a saw out there. Okay.
Yep, and when you have a department of just 2 or 3 people who are tired, this is the kind of mistakes that you have. This is why the city council voted to fully staff the department so that these kinds of mistakes that happen due to fatigue don't occur again, because it's costing us $10,000.
Thank you. Go ahead.
When you say that there's still money there, that $10,000 was supposed to be every year. Every year.
That was unfortunately before my time, so I can't answer
Yeah,
as to why those
but I
funds were
mean,
not.
That's what we had passed when I was on before, that there was to be $10,000 a year, every year in the budget for maintenance of stones and everything else out there, because the people paid for perpetual care. Perpetual care means you take care of it forever and ever and ever.
All right, we're getting a little ahead, but I will go into that real quickly here. Perpetual care means, yes, take care forever and ever and ever, but you can only use the interest from that fund because it is a restricted fund. You can't use larger amounts. You can only
Yeah,
use the interest.
but that money was taken out of the general budget.
The
It was when I was on the council last time, we put it into the budget that did not come out of perpetual care. The people, it was a line item. Yeah,
Right, but the money that can be used.
yeah,
But
but
the interest.
yeah, when the people buy the lot that gets put in perpetual care and we can spend the interest.
Right.
But this 10,000 was on top of the interest.
So
That was budgeted back then.
That was budgeted back then at a line item. Now, if it's been taken out or not, I have no idea. I would imagine you would have to vote it out.
right, but that hasn't been on the budget since I've been here.
And
Well,
since I've
somewhere
been here. it
along the
hasn't.
line, it got
Yeah.
shuffled off the books or something, but that was meant to be.
And one of the changes everybody will see to this budget, when my office was established, the city council and the staff as well was not aware of what each line item meant. So we had to disaggregate all of the budgets and resulted in over 250 line items that we had to forensically track to see what the money was in each account to then be able to put together for you today a complete budget. That wasn't always the case. So if you're saying that it was, I have no reason to doubt you, but I haven't seen that on any of the budgets.
I know Liz was here when it was done.
did it for a few years and then they didn't budget it for it.
Was it like an ordinance you passed?
No, it was a line item that was,
The budget to the cemetery department.
because our stones were in such bad shape out there. They were,
Mhm.
I mean, they were really bad. And we had a, where were they from? Sioux Falls?
I think so.
Sioux Falls would come in here and they'd spend the $10,000 every year straightening out the stones and putting new bases under them. Yeah,
Let's just dig into that. and see
Yeah.
what we can do in the future.
Well, if you want to add it now, you can certainly vote that in. We would add it to this, and then we will also add it to the levy figure at the top of it to balance it out. So if you want to add that, you can certainly do that when you're voting.
Well, there's been a lot of complaints from, people I've heard, stones.
I think it's, we ready to add it now. If we
Yep.
have to cut it back in December, we have to cut it back.
Yep.
Why not? Anything
Yep.
that costs the city right now, anything to add it right now. Let's finalize it, and have it there.
and one other thing for the cemetery, the gopher eradication, does that come out of miscellaneous expense?
It all depends on how we're taking care of the gophers. If it's contracting someone that's certified to do that pest removal, it would come out of the contracted services.
Okay.
All right, you can go ahead.
Okay. Willie, you're gonna give us that figure or?
Yep, but we could do it at the end.
Okay. So the next one is the airport. So you'll see that there is lines for salaries and pensions. That was due to this year when we had a full-time janitor. We didn't have one department for them, so we split them all up between the different departments that they had worked in. So they kept track of their hours at each one. So we will have some in the actuals, but we're not budgeting that for 2022. Supplies, we decreased just by $500. The maintenance and supplies, which is anytime we need to hire that labor to come in and fix something, especially mainly the tractor that is used for mowing or the snow blowing and stuff, we did increase that to $2,500. Memberships is level funded. That's just our membership to the Minnesota Airport Association. The contracted services we did increase. This is where our airport manager's stipend comes from. So that was increased this year, that rate. So we did increase from 9,000 to 12,000. The telephone, we increased to 800 because that's been trending upwards. Insurance increased, utilities we level funded, and the miscellaneous we level funded. So the budget proposed for 2022 for the airport is $26,750, which is an increase from last year's budget for 2021 of $22,200. Any questions on the airport? Okay, next. Okay, the next one is just the kind of the rest of the end of the budget. The lodging tax expenses we don't budget for. This is where you would see what we pay to the chamber. Abatements, that is not budgeted for because in 2021 there was no abatements and there's no ones in 2022. And the not allocated, that increased to $163,300. That category is the category where if something's purchased and it doesn't really fit any one department and gets put in. This not allocated is also where our monthly fee for the Senior Nutrition Center comes from. It is also where the ECPN payments get coded to, as well as the demolition projects. So there is some breakdown in the not allocated, but the aggregate figure increased to $163,300 from last year's, but 2021's budget of $142,800. And that's just due to tracking things a little better and making sure that we are tracking the ECPN payments, the payments for the Senior Nutrition Center. And then we've also increased some of the contractual type services or professional fees that have not been in the past and they don't fit one department. So those fall in that category. The next portion of it is transfer to other funds, also known as capital outlay. And this here, you'll see the different line items are the different departments that are requesting capital outlay for 2022. The administration is $4,000, and that is for equipment or anything that the administration department would need upgrades for some software or anything like that. City Hall, we did put $5,000 in, again, that aging infrastructure in the heating system to make sure we have it covered. The police department requested $5,000 for 2022. The fire department requested $3,000. And then I will have Ryan come up and talk about that once I get through the rest of the figures. The street department, I will have Ryan also discuss. We did increase to $62,000. Recreation, by request, was put at $30,000. And this is due to a request to fix the lights at the baseball field, as well as look into fixing lights along the walking path of that section behind the hospital there where those solar lights have started failing or have failed. The library requested $15,000, and the cemetery we put in $5,000 for 2022, and 52ing $3,000 for capital outlay in case there is any more issues that come up with that heating system, and if there is preventative repairs that need to be done, that can be in there. So I will have Ryan, our fire chief, and our street foreman come up and discuss the aspects of the fire department and the street department capital outlay. Yep.
Yeah, so there's just a few items that generated that number. One would be the replacement of one of the pickups that went out to the wastewater plant. We gave up one of ours for that. Concrete crushing out at the dump site, we are at max capacity. We can't accept any more concrete. It's out to the road. We don't have the equipment to push it back. And it's just one of those things that needs to be taken care of, whether we do portions of it or all of it, whatever. This obviously wouldn't cover all of it, but.
The total figure would be $142,000. That was the estimate that was got.
At the time that you got the estimate, and it's since grown, so.
Yep. So we have to start.
But there is some saleability of it after you crush it.
Yes, it is
So there's
worth money,
farmers that
so.
use it for parking lots. I mean, we could probably use it in our alleys.
To do something like
Fill some
that.
of the holes and they'd stay
Yep.
if you use that.
Yep, there's plenty of options with it, so. Noting the shop lot, I don't know if it's, how long it's been since it's been done, if it's ever been done. It's still a nice lot now, but eventually it won't be a nice lot. It's just a routine maintenance item that needs to be done. And then we have, this is just a smaller part, but our all of our hand tools or power tools aged to the point where they're just not working, and the stuff we use regularly. I mean, like our DeWalt, we've got the old, for the guys who know, we've got the old 18-volt DeWalt tools. And I mean, for all of our, like the campground, when we put in the fence and stuff like that, we're at the point where, 4 batteries will get you 10 or 15 minutes worth of work, where a new, the updated stuff, I mean, you can do a portion of the job on a battery. So we're just asking to get that stuff updated. So you want to do that one right away, or they can have any questions for D? I mean, is there any questions for any of those street items? Okay. And then the fire department.
Well, the only thing that we can say about the street department needing the pickup, I mean, that pickup went out there, but people service supplied their own vehicles when they ran the water, ran the sewer plant. So,
yeah,
I mean, at that time, we weren't supplying a vehicle, so now we're one vehicle short because of that transformation from people service to taking it over ourselves.
Correct. And
That's
they,
the reason.
just a side note, they did get our new one. So we are.
Play nice.
Yeah.
I love you the same.
Yeah. So.
All day long.
This pickup that you're looking at getting, you're looking at a used truck, is that correct? Or is that still up in the air, or?
I don't know if it would be used or new. I suppose it would depend on.
I mean, when I look at the numbers here, I mean, that's not much money to spend on a pickup.
Well, but see, they get into that government program where they buy it like the state through the state. I mean, so they get they get a state bid on it, so it's way less than we can pay for one.
Yeah, there's multiple sides to that. For one, like you said, we can get state bid. Another thing is we're actually just asking to replace what we had, which was a 3/4 ton with a 1/2 ton. We don't feel like we need as many 3/4 tons with plows as we have. We still need vehicles, just not the capacity that all of those have. And so we're also not asking for a plow, which, the last new vehicle we got, we put a plow on it too.
When that vehicle at the waste plant is used, I mean, that can be used in snow removal, right?
Yep,
I mean,
yeah, so that's a 3/4 ton Chevy that's got to be a plow on the
But
front.
I mean, that'll be you'll still use it for.
Oh,
snow
sure.
removal.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just curious. I'm not trying to talk you into asking
Nope.
for more or anything.
No.
Well, all the things you listed, and then it says 62,000.
Yeah, right, yeah, I can see where that wouldn't line up. No, we're asking for a little bit less of a pickup, but.
Sure.
So, I mean, it'll still do, it'll be what we need.
Okay,
So.
sounds good.
Well, I'd really lean toward a new one. Period.
Yeah, that I think is the thought, because with vehicles, they get a few years old and they're just old.
Not only that, but the used ones right now are so high priced, they're overpriced.
Oh,
And you're
sure.
gonna get one with 30, 40, 50, 60,000 miles on it.
And then if you
and
start
you're gonna
looking
pay
at less
dearly
money,
for it.
you're gonna buy something you don't want.
Yeah,
But
So-
don't
so-
you think with that state bid thing, I mean, if they can get in on that program, I know in the last one they bought, I mean, they got it reasonable.
But you can't get rims or tinted windows.
Well, I hate tinted windows, so
Nothing.
factory's in's fine, but let's not get crazy.
Yeah, but really go that direction because it doesn't pay to buy the used.
Sure.
So I mean, lean real heavy to that,
Mhm.
that new one and
Yeah, I think the idea is to look at the programs that we can
Yeah.
get with the
Yeah,
new
that's-
vehicle. Yep.
that state pricing is really good. I mean, we've used it a lot here
Mhm.
before when I was
Yeah, and
on.
we've used it for equipment on the fire department and stuff like that.
Yeah, and we use it for mowers and everything.
Mhm.
We save a lot of money.
For sure.
Okay,
The main
good.
savings with regards to the vehicle is that it will not have a plow.
Yeah, you're talking $6,000 to $10,000 these days, depending on what you get. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Anything else on that side of it?
Should be good.
Okay. Fire department. Let's see, that was mainly just the Rhino. We have one of us, so we have 2 side-by-sides, and one of them needs some pretty decent repairs to it. We don't have don't have a quote on that yet. But it's just something that needs to be taken care of. So we put 3,000 in there. Any more than that, I think that piece, it wouldn't be worth, it wouldn't be worth putting any more than that into it. But it does, however, need to be repaired. It's a piece of equipment we use, so.
Beats walking.
What's that? Oh.
It beats
yeah.
walking.
Yes.
Thank you.
Cindy, would you like to come up and talk about the library?
Now.
Okay, when I met with Willie and Emma, they asked me, kind of what are you looking at for the future? And so I know we're looking at computer replacement in the next 3 to 5 years. And so that's something to kind of prepare for. And then there's another wonderful thing that we could have so that it would be built in, and that is a smart board, completely electronic system that would be so easy, it would remain set up, and it could be in this room if this is how it works, or if we move forward with that new library, we would have something like that there as well. And we're not really sure what the cost of a smart board is going to be. I mean, I had mixed answers when I asked a couple other libraries. Some said you could probably get a system for around, $5,000-$10,000. Some said more, some said less. So, you just kind of, that's why where we came up with that type of number. And a smart board system would be great for in here, of course.
So it would eliminate this thing here, right?
You would totally eliminate it, and it would all be incorporated and built in. It would be a fluid system that Emma would love, to be quite honest with you, because it would just make her life and everybody else's really easy. And like I said, we would need to have a professional do this, because you'd want to get the right equipment for everything. And so this is just something to think about, I mean, it could be in the future. It would be great, in here for multi-uses.
I mean, is it mobile? Could you have it in your facility and then have it roll in here and use it?
It is not necessarily very mobile. Once you get everything all set up, you would want it to stay, and you would want it to not move. I mean, you could move it once, just to another location. But yeah, I think you'd want it to stay, because once you get it's just like that TV at home. You know how you get that remote just like perfect, all the channels are working great for you, everything is great, and then somebody changes it. And that's the problem with some of this, so I can just think of the multiple uses of multiple entities that use this facility. Or, like I said, if we move forward with the new library, that would be the same, because we're so centrally located with all sorts of entities wanting to meet here. I mean, it's like, check the calendar out. Everybody wants us. We're so popular,
Cindy, is it really just a projector type of system?
It's actually a large screen, or like a big TV.
It's a big computer screen.
And it can be touch screen orientated. It can be you'd have your own computerized system all set up. Ortonville Public Library put one in their basement facility, and I know their city council uses it quite often. So, that's one that you could check out locally, but that's been there for several years.
Don't all the new classrooms at the elementary all have smart boards?
Yeah.
I mean, the high school, my wife's got one out the high school. It's just a smart board.
And I think I do it even a step more, a little even more sophisticated than what they have. But yes, it's the wave. It's the wave of the future. And everything is just so integrated and so much easier to use.
Well, it'd be nice here when we're doing stuff like this. I mean, everything we do here, I can't ever read it anyway. I mean.
No, it's a blur. Good thing we got paper.
I know, I just bring my iPad with me, and then I just pull everything up. Yeah, because exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, now we're saying you're putting this in for your library.
Well,
Well, no.
yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying that it would be great down here also?
It would be. I mean, like I said, I know we haven't made a decision on the new library yet. And so that's why I'm saying, you know, that this would maybe be it would be great to have one here. And of course, I would really like to see it at a new facility at the new library as well. And so it's kind of a dual request in a sense, because it could be.
We should be looking at two.
Yeah. Or are you going to want it back if we put it in here and we do approve a new library?
Well.
I just want to clarify one thing. This city council approved the library.
Yeah.
What is not approved yet is the funding structure.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
we're looking at this for the library.
That's what we're asking it for, but I'm also suggesting that you seriously look at something for here too.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna need to hire tech one for 15,000 there, I mean, maybe we could get by with a $7,500 one here for meetings. I mean,
Or maybe we get a 2-for-1
yeah,
deal.
all of that, I mean, it's all an option.
There we
Yeah,
go.
everything is always an option. I agree. That's
Yeah.
a good point.
Well, I
Guys
know
look like
we,
you're window shopping a little.
we did.
You've
we
been
did-
window shopping?
No, it's what it seems like. We gotta be careful with the budget a little bit.
Mhm.
Well, I know when we discussed this earlier, there was two of us at a time come in so we could go through this, so we didn't break an open meeting law. It was only like $1.88 a year, what it was gonna cost the taxpayer in town. So I mean, it's a hell of an investment for little money.
And for those of you at home that are curious, the $15,000 divided by the levy, you will get that value that he just mentioned.
And you know, it may not cost quite that amount. Again,
less.
just like a lot of other things, we have to pick a number. And I think it's going to be a little less than that. You know, I mean, I really do, but I want to do it right, because whenever you buy something, it's just like buying that car. You drive it off the lot and it does lose some value because there's always someone making something a little better. So you do really want to invest in the right equipment. And like I said, I think you need to talk to a professional that knows more than me.
You need to talk to the professional.
And of course, I'm always game to do those things. Mhm.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Yep.
And no other questions or anything? Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Okay, you want to go to the next slide? Okay, so Willie, do you have an updated number?
Yes,
Okay,
the levy is 2282903. Excuse me, the budget.
Okay.
And our levy is 1,584,537. The general fund is 929,589.
sorry, I gotta get to the right page. It just goes up. Okay, so 929,
589.
okay, so then these figures on the screen are gonna be a little different then. So our total revenues would be, and expenditures would be $2,282,903. That is with that $10,000 increase for that cemetery. So this would result in a levelly funded budget between revenues and expenditures. The difference is zero. Do you want to do anything else with the budget? Or do you want to go on to the next stuff?
No, you're good there.
Okay, go ahead, Liz. Okay, so the APC Endowment Fund, this is the Appleton Prison Corporation Endowment Fund. These monies were from when the sale of the prison happened. They were put in an account, and the only thing that can be used is a restricted account, so the interest income. So that is actually split between the fire, the 52 wing, and recreation departments every year. So that interest is split and allocated to those 3 departments. So the balance in that account as of July 31st of this year is $40,280.92. And up to that point for 2021, the interest earned was $55.08. The next one is the perpetual care for the cemetery. This again is that interest income can be used. So the balance as of July 31st of 2021 is $170,336.58. As of that same date, the interest earned for the year was $232.89. Yes, Councilmember.
Back it up one.
The APC,
Yeah,
Liz, use the left arrow. There you go.
okay, now what's the principal balance?
Couldn't tell you.
It's a $40,000.
The beginning balance as of 2021 was $40,225.84 before you add the interest in. But I don't know what the opening.
Huh?
The CD,
Yeah,
that's 400,000.
400, yeah, okay.
So that's a total unrestricted balance. We are, for those of you following along at home, we're showing you the money that moves. Restricted is not really part of the budget process. They're stock items, not flow items. So that's why he's asking. He was about to yell, where did it go?
Yeah, because I was in that negotiation when Prairie sold out, and I negotiated for that $400,000 for them different departments. So I just wanted to make sure it's still there.
Right, no, and I appreciate that. Yep, this budget formula that you see in front of you is brand new to the entire city. So it was an effort of all the different staff trying to get all these figures together and trying to figure out where some of this money actually did originate from. So it's good we can make notes for the public when they read this document.
But that portion will never be on here because it's a stock item. It doesn't have any relevance to the budget or the levy. You're showing the exact right part.
Any other questions on those? Okay. You want me to go over the whole general capital outlay?
Sure. You did a great job.
Yay. Okay, next, Liz. Okay, so the next one is the general capital outlay fund. It was established to provide a means of tracking the capital outlay purchases of the city. And again, these amounts are determined every year between the administration and the council. They can either be used completely in that current year or set aside and save for use in future years. So in your packets, Liz, if you want to go, in your packets, you'll see our capital outlay money market account is all the different departments combined. So the actual balance as of like 5 days ago is $306,969.91. The reason you see a large transfer for 2021 of the $44,367.60 is because in past years, the staff was not directed to transfer those funds like they should have been. So we did catch up from 2017 up to now. We made sure to transfer the funds that were dedicated for that capital outlay into the account. So then those funds can start earning interest. Liz, you want to go to the next one? Okay, so what I did on here, I didn't, in your packets and in this budget presentation, each line item capital outlay has their own page. I just combined them on here. Any department that does have a negative balance, this usually accounts for a year where the budget was not high enough to cover an expenditure that came up, such as, for example, the police department maybe needed to buy a squad car in a year that it wasn't budgeted for. So that would have taken their fund that was dedicated for them down to a negative balance. However, that doesn't mean there's a negative balance in that money market account. It's just that portion dedicated to them. So the recreation from the water and sewer garbage billing, which is that little rec fee you see on your bill, the balance ending as of, these are all as of about 9/20 of this year, is $141,414. The clerk treasurer right now has a balance of $12,116. We have spent a little money out of that one in the last couple of years with computer upgrades and some office furniture. The deputy registrar accounting officer, that balance is $21,500. The civic center, we do have a balance of $52,699, and you will see there was a use last year of roughly about $8,800, and that was some unit repair down for the heating. The police, they have a negative balance of $76,090. But in 2018, the use, they did spend $47,119. There was another year, it was around roughly 60,000 or so for a squad car as well. Fire department as well is negative to the tune of $114,639. That was due very large in part to the 2020 purchase of those SCBAs, the breathing masks and the tanks. That was not budgeted for. So that's why that account is so largely negative. The street department is negative $67,669. But in 2019, there was a use of $143,536. And I believe that was a grader.
Right.
So, which was not budgeted for. So that's why that is negative. The airport has $50,000 in the positive. The snow, which is anything, just specifically used for snow, that is a negative $8,906. And the last time anything was expended from that line was 2018 of $2,250. The library right now has a balance of $10,697. And that is largely due in part, the council has budgeted roughly $3,000 a year for that computer replacement, like Cindy was talking. There's just a cycle to computer replacement, so they've budgeted for that. So when that time comes, those funds are there. The skating rink has $10,000. The swimming pool has $12,700. The last time anything was used out of that line item was 2018. The 52-wing right now has set aside $51,920. The Parks Department has an ending balance of $14,942. And the last time anything was capital outlaid from there was 2018, and that was a mower. The cemetery, right now the capital outlay balance is $31,740. And in 2018, there was an expense of $5,900, and that was a mower again. And this money in the cemetery is from the line item in the capital outlay for cemetery each year. So those funds are put in there, which I believe might be the 10,000, Gary, that you had talked about in the past. Maybe it's gone that direction. And then unallocated is $62,500. And that's just to be used for any kind of purchase that doesn't fall under these categories here. So that is the capital outlay balances.
Important to note, prior to September of 2019, the capital outlay budgets were not completely tracked. So since that point till today, the staff has been working with my office to really track what each one of these accounts really had. You'll see some of them are negative. It doesn't mean that the department overall is in negative. It means that the budget or the plan for that particular year went into deficit spending. Some of it has to do with mechanical breakdowns and sometimes costs that were much higher than anticipated in terms of estimation.
And we've also gone to a system since 2019 of making sure that we meet with department heads and ask them their requests. So we make sure that those needs are being met in the budget. And I am actually going to turn everything over now to our accounting officer, Liz Goddess. She is going to come talk to you about the bonded indebtedness for the city.
Thank you, Emma. You've been amazing.
I walked into the bathroom and the urinal's been pouring all this time. The one all the way to the right. Wait till the thing set it up. Needs to be fixed, a lot of water.
Good.
Thank you, Larry.
Okay. Okay, I'm covering the bond of indebtedness, which is, part of it's on the tax levy, part of it is not. The first one that we'll be looking at. Okay, let's see where we're at. Okay, is actually the tax levy debt service. This is subject to an automatic tax levy that was established at the time that the bonds were sold. In certain instances, these automatic tax levies can be removed if they are not needed to make the payments. What we have here is, we have listed here this year's bond payments and then continuing on. For next year, we'll have dropped one of our bonds, but we will be the final payment for the 2012A. That's the money we received from Federated Telephone for the pool project. The next one was a sewer water bond, revenue bonds for Christensen Farms. We had to put in sewer and water lines. The next one would have been another water and sewer. That's when they put the water lines in for the Dollar General. Plus, that was when we painted the water tower. So those covered those costs. Then we had the tax abatement bond, 52-wing roof that we replaced or fixed. The pool bonds of 2021A. Now that bond is actually a combination. It's got both pool money and hospital bond. I'll go into that the next one over, but that shows the portion that we pay for the pool. It's listed on that. Then it's the 52-wing, the heating system that we put in. We're close to getting that one paid off also. And then the fire department breathing apparatus, which was last year. And then this, the drinking water revolving loan fund, that's for our new water treatment plant. So also you will find that you have each bond has a breakdown showing you when they've started, what we've paid each year, principal interest, the rate that we had, the percentage rate on them. And highlighted there's also the next year's budget of 2022. So for like the pool bonds, next year's will be 35,000. For the Dollar General series bonds, the water tower also painting, that will be a total of 65,960. The 52-wing heating system will be 57,160. The drinking water, the new one, that's the $240,210. That's the one that we have to have on our tax levy for 3 years, I believe.
Yep.
So after the third year, then it will all be come out of our enterprise funds, hopefully. The next spreadsheet that you have is for the non-tax levy debt services. These are bonds sold without an automatic levy established for them because the bonds are to be paid off through other identified services of revenues. The ones listed here, these all have to do with the hospital bonds. And there was a combination, so we did drop a couple of bonds, but there's the equipment certificate from 2016. It's on this side. Okay, next year's portion of that will be $22,978. Also, they had a health facility refund bonds in 2020, and that's $120,052.50 for 2022. And excuse me. And then the last one is the new 2021 bonds. That's a combination, but the hospital's portion is $114,000 for next year. The hospital does make monthly payments on all of these bonds. So we collect that every month. So we have that money to pay the bonds come April, May, let's see, June, May and June, and then also November, December is when we pay our bond payments. With the hospital bonds, like I said, they pay monthly. If we don't get money from them, it's going to be money that's going to come out of the general fund to cover the bond payments. But, and I think that is about,
So we went to this trouble to share this with the community, that you know what the composition of your tax levy is. You know what debt service is on the taxpayers and what debt service is not. When it comes to the hospital's debt service, if their revenues are not sufficient, then the taxpayers would have to pay for that. But luckily that is not the case because they're making their payments.
yeah, they're making their payments.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
The next is the economic development, the EDA. You'll see their checking account and their money market account. This is as of October 31st. They don't have a lot of transactions happening, so it's a pretty flat account. We're hoping to increase that and show bigger revenues for the EDA in the future. Also, you'll see small cities grants from 2005 and from 2011 that are left over. And that represents money available for those grant purposes. We then get into the liquor fund. Our liquor store has been doing very, very well. And we give our hats off to our liquor store manager, Ann. She's doing a fantastic job. I will point out that 2020 was an atypical year. We had $707,000 of revenue. And, you know, when you make, you know, revenue goes up, expenditure goes up too. We've also spent more than we spend in other years, about $631,000 in expenses. So if you want to compare it to a private business, your profit loss is just about break even. And there is a, you know, $76,000 operating profit, of which $40,000 was transferred over at the beginning of 2021, pursuant to city council and voters' wishes. If we go into the next page for the sales analysis, it basically shows you the performance of the liquor store fund. So again, 2020 was an atypical year. 2021 is performing closer to previous years. And that's good because in just about every year, we have a net profit of about $25,000 to $35,000. Okay. As we go into the enterprise funds, you look at your water fund in particular. You'll see that in 2017, 2018, 2019, there was a negative income loss in these funds. You'll see that as of 2020, moving to 2021, we are in the black. We're performing correctly. This is important as we just showed through other parts of the budget. If we can offset some of the tax burden onto some of these, then it's less for the taxpayers to pay. So that's why it's important to make sure we have healthy enterprise funds. We move on to the sewer. You'll see that we've had some negative performances in 2018, 2019, and 2020, but as of this year, we're again performing in the black. So we're moving in the right direction here, and that is also echoed by the 2020 audit that was performed. We just changed the rates for the garbage collection, and we're still in negotiation with Mathiasen, but you'll see that what we were charging in fees was not enough as of 2018, 2019, 2020. But as we stand today, we're in the positive again. So we're going in the right direction. The last section talks about the fiduciary grants the city holds. The small cities grants for 2005, 2011 were mentioned already. We also have a revolving loan fund. We have some money that was appropriated to us by the USDA, about $153,000 remain in there. We're hoping that small businesses that are looking for working capital, really please do submit your applications. We're looking forward to working with you. We also have the development 3-2 district for Westcon, which is still working and operational. We received $983.83 for the Thomas Wright estate that is predominantly for the concert series that gets held in the park. And we also have the Miller Oil Trust. It has a balance of about $43,501. And that is used for when we go ahead and put out signs, street signs. But as you all know, we're going to be repairing a lot of streets. We don't want to go ahead and repair streets and then do the signs all over again. So that brings us to the end of our budget presentation. Any questions?
Just a comment here, Willie, or me, you can kind of go through this, but so our 2022 budget, whatever we approve tonight, we can go down, but we cannot go up. Is that correct?
That's correct. I'll cite it for you. The Minnesota statutes 275.065 allows for that adjustment that you just described. You can set a preliminary budget and tax levy, and you can adjust it down, but you cannot adjust it up.
And we've got until December to adjust it down.
So what we have here is just a roadmap to go through till December to finalize what we want to do.
That's correct. And some of the outstanding pending items are union negotiation, contract negotiations, and of course, the capital items that you guys are considering here tonight and into December.
So then what they'll do is like Ryan will go get prices on pickups and whatever, and then we'll actually have a number that we're going to use for that budget at that time. How are we going to do that?
Well, we can get those figures, but those figures are not really totally off based on the competitive bidding that happens with the state procurement. But if you feel as a city council, this is your prerogative, if you do not want to have these capital costs, you can adjust them by December.
Any other questions?
Anybody out there have any questions? Thank you guys for sticking with us. I know it was long today.
Someone does need to look at that flush valve on the right urinal. It was full blast.
Yeah, maybe when we go, Ryan, I mean, maybe when you go, Ryan, you can just take a look at it, or?
Was there any water on the floor?
No, it was to the top of the thing, but it was just.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. It scares me because I see dollar signs every time somebody mentions something to me.
So we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for the 2022 primary budget and tax levy.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Public comments?
Mo, were there any public comments submitted in there?
All right, no public comments, move on to new business.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2021-26 to establish a payment in lieu of taxes with AAH for $20,000.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded for the in lieu of taxes for the Appleton Area Health. Will there be any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to ask a couple, gosh, there's a lot of echo. I just want to ask a couple of quick questions here that I know some of the public have asked. Just to clarify the language here in this resolution, 22% of the assessed property taxes. Well, let me read the whole thing. Effective January 1st, 2022, Appleton Area Health shall pay a percentage of not less than 22% of the assessed property taxes that would be due were Appleton Area Health be classified as a for-profit hospital, as assessed by the county assessor, and not less than 6% of debt service for all outstanding debt guaranteed by the city of Appleton. And I'm going to say this wrong, I know, ad valorem taxing authority, or the equivalent of 1 half-day cash on hand, whichever is greater. And then it kind of goes on, but I'm sure everybody's seen. So I guess the question that has been presented to me is, because it says whichever is greater, what is 22% of property taxes?
22% of 91,000 is about $20,000. 6% of their debt service is about $20,000.
Okay, okay, yep, so it's all about the same.
Right.
Okay.
And
I
a
just,
day of their cash on hand, half of that is about
20,000, it's 21-ish, I believe, yeah. Closer to 23, okay. Yep, I just wanted to, because I know that these are questions that have been asked of me, and I want to make sure that we bring them up and,
Yep.
and make everything clear.
Thank you for doing so. It's an equation. And leadership of the hospital board recommended to us that it not go beyond $20,000, and the language therein restricts us to those $20,000. Now, the language therein cannot restrict the authority of the city council. If people are having trouble with that part, I can't write language that prescribes limitations on the city council. I don't have that authority.
Mhm. Yep, and that's, and that's what I just kind of wanted to make sure that was all said in a way that everybody would understand it.
Thank you so much.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Capital Outlay Administration.
Motion to approve capital outlay administration, the amount of $4,000.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So what is the administration outlay? 4,000. That was,
It's my office, the deputy, Emma's office, all of our together.
the other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Capital Outlay City Hall, 5,000.
Motion to approve capital outlay for City Hall in the amount of $5,000.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded for capital outlay of the City Hall. Any discussion?
For how much?
5,000.
Okay.
And that would be for maintenance.
Mhm.
in the building.
We're really holding our fingers crossed here. This past year has been very difficult. We are serviced by a really good firm. Chapel Hill does great work for us, but boy, are they expensive.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Police Department, $5,000.
Motion to approve the capital outlay for the police department of the amount of $5,000.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Fire Department, $3,000.
Motion to approve capital outlay for the fire department in the amount of $3,000.
Second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Street Department, $62,000.
Motion to approve capital outlay for street department in the amount of $62,000.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. The capital outlay for the Street Department. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Recreation baseball field lights.
Motion to approve capital outlay for recreation in the amount of $30,000.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion? One thing I'd like to say on that is I'd like to research and make sure the towers are stationary and not moving and
Yeah, Roman wanted to get rid of it. It didn't work, but, and that's also the, We're also talking about
Bike trail lights.
the bike trail lights too.
Yep.
All right.
So I just think a little research on that and talk to Otter Tails, what we can do with possible rebates, if there is any or not, or,
I'll reach out to Lori Moxness. I have a call into her office next week.
yeah. And then we can actually maybe get a hard number on that, you know, from Clemens or something.
We can update the quote.
Yeah, yep, because this is more of a hearsay.
And could we
thing.
see it separated, Willie, between bike path and,
Yeah, because I mean, we need
And
to
I'm
fix
sure
the
you're gonna
bike
do that
path
anyway,
lights, and
but-
I mean, this could be a stepping stone for the baseball.
I'd like to see those bike path lights. It
Yeah.
looks really nice, the couple of ones that are working.
Yeah.
We need to do something there.
Yeah, and that's a safety issue too,
All right, any other discussion?
people.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Library smart board computer replacement plan.
Motion to approve capital outlay for the library in the amount of 15,000.
I second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Cemetery gravestone maintenance, 5,000.
That's what we're talking about with Gary and any changes? Does that
Is
change?
this where we changed that?
Nope, this is the capital part.
Okay,
That was on the operational side.
okay.
Okay.
Motion to approve capital outlay for cemetery in the amount of $5,000.
Second,
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. 52 wing heating system maintenance and repair.
Motion to approve capital outlay for the 52 wing in the amount of $3,000.
Second that?
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Resolution, primary budget tax levy.
Motion to adopt resolution 2021-27 to accept the preliminary 2022 budget and tax levy. If no changes.
With the changes.
With changes.
Second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to accept the preliminary budget. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Health insurance renewal.
So our health insurance provider, the Southwest, West Central Cooperative provides us currently with Minnesota Blue Cross Blue Shield. They have found it more competitive to move to Medica, and we're going to have the exact same structure. It's going up 3%. So it's going up from 193,674 to 199,484. And these are the health insurance plans that all of the employees in the city who opt to take the insurance plan benefit from.
And this will take effect when?
How much?
2021, excuse me, 2022,
Okay, so
How much?
January. All right.
January 1st.
99,000 right there. That number's what it is. It was 90%.
Yep, and it's in your packets on page. PDF.
Yeah.
We have a motion.
Motion to accept the renewal of the city's health insurance policy with the SWWC in the amount of $199,484.22.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Will there be any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. MnDOT grant for airport layout plan update.
You walked with me that day when we toured the airport. In order to keep getting grants and consideration for those grants from MDOT Aeronautics, we need to have a layout plan. So basically, they want us to prioritize and show how we want the airport that in a method that they would approve.
Yeah, it's like a wish list. I mean, that's basically what the guy from the DOT had told me a couple years ago.
Is that also 95% covered?
Correct. So our responsibility would be $4,250 out of this $85,000.
And that's annual or once?
That's a one.
Don't they write this plan up and then we can add to it as years go on?
Right. So this is the first step. We have a CIP. This will help us add to the CIP.
5%.
4,200 and some dollars it cost us to do that $85,000 project.
Motion to accept the Minnesota DOT grant for the airport's layout plan update in the amount of $85,000.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Purchase beyond the city's purchase policy.
So a total of $224,277.45 were needed and are needed for the services, purchase of goods and services for the city of Appleton. This is beyond our $5,000 purchase policy. It includes charges from Apex Engineering and Magnet Construction. Again, those charges in particular are covered through the receipts of the PFA program that we're part of right now, and it's associated to water treatment plant that's being built currently. The auditor's charges for this past year, the remaining charges are $11,650 for the total of $224,277.45.
So a motion to approve payment of goods and services purchases beyond the city's purchase policy in the amount of $224,227.45.
You second that?
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So do we move into closed session and then make a move, or how do we do it?
Yep, we got a vote to go into closed session.
Yeah.
And
Do we have a
we're going to closed session now, guys. Thank
While
you.
the crowd dissipates, maybe use the restroom quick.
Yep.
Yeah, I gotta make a phone call.
I'll make, we got to make a motion quick?
You should
We
probably.
got to make the motion. to go into
Yeah.
closed session.
Do a motion.
Make a motion and to enter into closed session for the purpose of labor negotiation strategies.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
10-minute recess.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then you're gonna vote to go into closed session.
Yeah, that's my understanding. I'm not saying that.
So what do we motion to approve this one here? Or what?
Yep, motion to approve.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the 2022 collective bargaining agreement between the city of Appleton and American Federated of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO.
Second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Will there be any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion to enter into closed session.
I make a motion to enter into closed session for the purpose of performance evaluation.
I second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to go into closed session. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
This conference will now be recorded.
We went into open meeting at 8:27.
Jason made the motion and who seconded it?
I did.
Old business, or do I have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion